Hello beautiful and lovely gamers, my name is Jonal and today we're gonna talk about Widowmaker. Widowmaker being absolutely broken and used in ways that I don't feel a lot of people always understand why, because I get a lot of questions like why are they playing so much Widowmaker. Of course they are very good on Widowmaker, but I still don't understand. Wouldn't it be better to pick someone like Soldier or another Tracer instead, or a McCree or something like that? And why do they pick these snipers all the time? And that of course is a reference to a lot of the Overwatch League matches where we saw so many Widowmaker picks and so many Widowmaker plays, both on offense and on defense. So let's talk a little bit about why that is. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about how this counter affect the Mercy and her reses and stuff like that, because a lot of people think, you know, okay, if they have a Widowmaker, then we just have Mercy and then we can res the pick. I don't want to talk too much about that and go too much into detail, but the problem with the enemy team having a Widowmaker is the amount of zoning you get, and especially when a Widowmaker are of the caliber they are. Of course, if the Widowmaker cannot land its shots, it's a problem all of a sudden. Then the Widowmaker is not a good pick. But in this high tier, of course they can land their shot. They are all some of the best Widowmakers in the world, and the fact is that the amount of zoning it does for anyone, including their tanks, it is horrendous, because a tank will get a 300 damage headshot. It's not that hard to land a headshot, and that in itself put a lot of the healing all of a sudden have to be focused over to that main tank. Let's say the Winston, for example, get that headshot in, all of a sudden the Winston needs to maybe use his bubble to protect himself, to give the healers enough time to heal him up, or else he's gonna die. Also putting the enemy team up a little bit of defense, and if some of the other team is now starting to take a lot of the damage, the Mercy will have to, okay, but I have to heal this Winston first, but now I also have to heal you guys. And of course, the supports cannot peek anywhere. The DPSs cannot peek anywhere, really, without risking getting sniped. That's also why we see a lot of time two Widowmakers, because if the one of the Widowmakers standing still just popping shots, the other Widowmaker can then snipe you. And this creates a lot of the zoning potentials, which you don't see that much. It's almost like choking. If you have a tank, let's say Winston, and Winston takes dives top right on second point on Eichenwald, right? If he dives on top of castle, all of a sudden him and let's say Genji and maybe a Pharah flies up there, you know, this area is kind of choked out. You can't just send one DPS up there because he'll get absolutely annihilated. You have to devote a lot of team resources to take back that area, and this limits your team's mobility. Your team cannot move up to this area here without having a lot of resources, and it gives ground, so your DPSs now have more room to work. So now that's choking on a very basic way of explanation, because this is not a video about choking, this is a video about Widowmaker. And the similar thing happens when you pick a Widowmaker. You get these kind of zoning and choking areas. If she peeks on Anubis, you know, for example, and she's on offense, you have this offensive Widowmaker, she peeks and you don't have a shield there, then all of a sudden you cannot move there because you risk getting sniped. And the risk of getting sniped, since the Widows are so good, is very, very high. Of course, you're going to say, well, they can just dive or try to control that Widowmaker, and this leaves a couple of things when it comes to teams, but you don't see that much in comp, especially in lower ranks, and that is, let's say that you send, you know, your Genji to deal with the Widowmaker. That's fine, you know, the Genji can actually lose that fight, maybe not, maybe he will. It's a little bit harder to just 1v1 a very good Widowmaker all of a sudden as a Genji, even though the Genji is really good. But first of all, yes, you do trade one DPS for another, and that's fine enough. But the problem is that it's also very easy not to kill the Genji, especially if he had to dash to get to the Widowmaker, which the good Widows are very smart about the positioning. So if they can dive, they can hookshot away. So if he has to first go to her, then she hookshot, then he has to follow her with a dash, all of a sudden it's very easy for some of the enemy team to turn on him. On top of that, a Widowmaker can a lot of time get pocketed by a support, or at least helped by a support, which the Genji a lot of time cannot, since the Widows are so far behind. So sending a Genji is not just an easy solution, and this gives this problematic with, okay, we cannot move to this area without burning our shields, because if we do, we'll take so much damage from a Widowmaker. Okay, cool. We have to devote resources on killing the Widowmaker, but that's a problem, because it's not that easy to just kill the enemy Widowmaker. She can juke around and kite us for a long period of time. If we just dive the Widow, we can kill her, but then they'll kill our support that's left behind, or they'll counter dive us in the back, and that will put us in a bad position. And this leaves this really big problem that, okay, dive, we cannot move here and we kind of have to deal with her, but we can't really deal with her. And that's also why you see a lot of time counter widows, because a counter widow does the exact same thing for the enemy team. Okay, they have a Widowmaker on defense, well, we cannot move to these certain areas because we risk them getting sniped. We have to move very carefully, use a lot of cover, make sure our offenses might be a little bit closer. We can't really be in these open spaces without shields or something to protect us. And again, we can put a lot of resources on diving the Widowmaker, but that again leaves the enemy team very easy to them to either dive our supports or to just counter dive us or attack us in the back. And that is the problem with this, and that's also why we see two of them, because the Widowmaker of course will have, I have control of this area, the enemy would have control of the exact same area. Now it's just who can snipe who first. And of course, with the Mercy Rest, this bring a lot of changes to that you can rest a dying Widowmaker or a dead Widowmaker far back. But that is why Widowmaker is so strong, and why a lot of people love to play Widowmaker, and why I always say, you know, if you're good on Widowmaker or you like her and you want to be good with her, you can practice her, and she's very strong, especially on something like Second Point Hanamura, where you can essentially just stand on top of one of the high grounds and aim down at the point while the enemy team is respawning, trying to contest. And that leaves them at the fact that we have to deal with the 300 damage headshot machine that stands on high ground. But we can't, we're already losing the fight on the point. But if we don't deal with her, we die. But if we send too many people off the point to deal with her, we lose the point. And that also, again, it creates these dilemmas that we cannot go here, but we need to go here, but we can't really, and we have to put resources on the Widowmaker, but she's so far behind that that's hard. And then we might lose players by doing that, and that puts these very hard situations for competitive teams, and also for these very pro teams, which is very fun to watch. And of course, it's always entertaining to watch Taimu or Linkser or some one of these godlike Widowmakers popping off. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, then like, and if you didn't, then dislike, and subscribe to this channel if you like what I do, and drop down in the comments if you have any questions, any video requests. And of course, you can always join the Discord community and talk to me there, talk to the rest of the community, ask me questions and stuff like that, and hopefully we can have a chat. As I said, guys, I hope you guys have a lovely gaming experience. As always, guys, my name has been Jonal. Stay positive and keep the enemy in your crosshair.